and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacalyn. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacalyn.com to book an appointment today.
Hello and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents A Better You, lessons from the best coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors. Here we are today on Business Talk Radio and live streaming on social media. Our program is an opportunity for you, our audience, to hear from people who are the best in their field. They are going to delight us, to entertain us, to educate us, to train us, and to motivate us. Without further ado, let me bring our guests on for today. Welcome to the program, Al, Mariska, Red, and Diann. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Great to be here.
So I thought what we would do, just to start off the show, is let's just go around and introduce ourselves and talk about what it is we want to accomplish today. Let's start with you, Al. Haven't seen you in a while, by the way.
I haven't seen you in about an hour, Dr. Jacalyn. My passion, I think, as you know, is working with teams to try to find the sweet spot that causes everybody on the team to catch fire and perform at a higher level and become committed to their work. What I'd like to do today is talk about the basics of how we go about that in a way that allows people to do it themselves without having to buy anything, without having to make a commitment to anything. We have a simple exercise I'll walk people through that identifies the heart and soul of a team and encourages, inspires everybody to align themselves with it. So that's my plan for the day. Thanks.
Very exciting. Thank you. Mariska, let's hear from you. Live from New Zealand, I must mention.
Yes, all the way from New Zealand. And very happy to be sharing this time with you guys. So I'm a transformational and career coach. And I feel inspired to see other people be inspired with what they do. And not just work for the sake of working. And for today, one of the things that I'll be focusing on is taking you through the wheel of life and exploring a little bit how and where in your life you want to focus a little bit more in order for you to feel inspired and to really create that life that you want for, 2021.
That's excellent. I can't wait for that exercise on the wheel of life. Over to you, Diann from Texas.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. So I'm an international children's author, and I enjoy writing books that inspire kiddos to love themselves, but I also wish the books that it also inspires the reader as well. And today, I'd like to share about how to keep love in your heart and ways we can do that, etc. So I'm excited about that because I'm very passionate about it.
And you are definitely a gifted writer and illustrator. And also from Texas, we have Red with us. Hello, Red.
Howdy. I think Diann's about as far north of Houston as I am south, but we're both basically in the Houston city limits, so to speak. Anyway, I'm a public speaker, a published author, and an independent publisher. Two lessons I want to share today that I think are very, very important for a better life is one real simple, easy way that if you ever entertained a thought about writing a book, there are some books that are super simple. You can literally write them on a weekend. And the best part is it needs almost no editing. The second one is based on true life experiences and some easy things that you can do if you only knew about them to literally improve your health, extend your longevity, and to be pretty much, I wouldn't say immune from age-related disease, but certainly far better off than you may not otherwise be. So those are the two things I want to share today.
Fascinating topics. I can't wait to hear them. You guys are just an incredible panel, and thank you for being here for our first show ever. It's just so exciting. It's going in the record book. So glad we can share this experience together. So let's just give our audience an understanding of how the program works, the show flow. Each of you will have 15 minutes, and we do have a timer so that you can stay focused on staying on time. And then we'll have a discussion afterwards as a panel about each person's presentation. Sound good?
Great.
Okay. So we're going to get started, and the very brave and courageous Diann has offered to go first. Yay!
Great.
All right, Diann, let me spotlight you and let me give you the timer. There we go. So take it away, Diann.
All right. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share a topic that I've shared with whether I was teaching and or speaking. And one of them is to keep love in your heart, even when it's difficult, but also for us to realize by keeping love in our heart, we're being a good role model for our family, our friends, the children who look at us to see what it's like and how they should be as they're growing up. So why do we want to do this? We want to do this because we want to like ourselves and we want to love ourselves. And when we like and love ourselves, then we feel very good in our heart. Believe it or not, you really do. But then there's a decision to make. We have to decide, do we want to go the negative route in building love in our heart, or do we want to go the positive route? So what does that mean? Well, let's say in disciplining a child, you might say, don't do that. I told you so. And hopefully then they don't do it anymore. Or you could say, seriously, we need to talk about this. So an example for a child, let's say biting. So I'm going to go from experience that my mom taught me that she had to do with me, and then I use that same type of role modeling with my own kiddos. So when I was younger, I apparently bit my best friend, and Connie Ann wasn't happy. And so instead of my mom saying, whack, don't you do that anymore, that's not nice, she did the approach where she sat down and said, Diann, we need to talk about this. Mrs. Brooks called and said, you bit your friend Connie Ann. Yes, Mommy, I did, she said. I said, and she goes, now, was that very nice? No, Mommy, it's not very nice. And we went through this role play. And then in the end, she goes, well, what do you think we need to do about it? And so apparently, because I was like 4 or 5, we walked up to Connie Ann's house and knocked on the door, and Connie Ann was there with her mama, and I apologized, and she said, okay, we can be friends again. And believe it or not, Connie Ann and I are still friends today, and I never bit her again. But that was a positive way to handle something, and so I think that's a great way to decide how to have love in your heart, is by approaching a positive way for an experience. Now, how do we take that to adulthood? Well, all of us, I would assume, have been in situations, as I myself have experienced where, oh, I was a teacher, so do I really have to walk down that hallway? I just dread it. What if that teacher's out there? Or maybe in your work experience, they're going to be at the water cooler. I think I will avoid them. Or you actually have to work on a project with someone. Well, you just have to keep saying, in your mind, I'm going to have love in my heart. I'm going to have love in my heart no matter what happens. And that's easier said than done. So let's say that you're in a situation and you are walking down that hallway, or you do end up at having to go to the that person's office and say we need to work on something, and they still have a negative approach. Well, you could get upset and go, oh, that's just fine. I'm not interested in working with you anyway. Or take a deep breath and mentally say, I'm going to have love in my heart, and just say, look, when you're ready to talk about it and work together, you let me know, and walk off. And when you walk off, that person most likely is going to be upset that they didn't get to push your buttons. But that's okay. That's their problem. You get to walk off and say, oh, I made it through, even though I really wanted to punch them, but I'm developing love in my heart. And the great thing about that is that you're going to feel good for the rest of the day. Because if you did lose your temper or you did say something that you regretted as well, you're going to have this replay over in your mind, and it will interfere with you being able to accomplish the things you really wanted to get done today. And so that positivity is so important. So the decision on which way you would like to develop love in your heart is really up to you. And most likely it's going to be the positive way, at least I would like to say. So how do we go about this? Well, I would like to say a simple way is to start smiling more. A smile, as they say, is worth 1,000 words. Notice that even when you're reading a book and it's a mystery or something's about to happen, and sometimes you tense up because you can't wait to see what's going to happen next, just instead of going, oh, what's going to happen next? Go, I wonder what's going to happen next. And you just have this little smile. And there's something about using those smile muscles, even if it's just slightly, and you're reading a story, can actually have wonderful vibrations in your body. So that's something to do. That's very easy. Other things to do is volunteering. So, for example, I volunteer for the USO, and you could go to uso.org and learn more about it. But I've been volunteering for them for over 14 years, and it's just an incredible experience. There's another organization, and they don't pay me to say this, but it's just I really love them, and it's a great way to develop love in your heart, always by giving or helping. And that's by B, which is for business, peace. And there, you're able to use your talents and share them with others. And if you go to bpeace.org, you can learn how to do that. And you're helping people all around the world, which is exciting too. Some other things you could do, for an example, is to make it a family affair. And this is one that I just absolutely love. So I'm going to share two examples because it looks like we have enough time here. So when my kids were younger, I really wanted them to start learning about giving and how to do things. And so what we did was a local store at the time, a grocery store, they were giving away, if you purchase one turkey, you received another turkey for free. So I thought, So the next thing I knew, I buy a turkey, get a new turkey. My husband buys a turkey, he gets a turkey. So in the end, we ended up with, we bought a turkey for each one of the kids, made an ice chest for it. And then each ice chest ended up with a whole Thanksgiving meal. And then we drove around to different areas, and we told the kiddos they each would have the ice chest, and we all had to be quiet in the car, and they had to learn to listen and hear and feel and decide which house probably needed a Thanksgiving meal. And somehow, by the grace of God, they were able to pick just the right house. And of course, my husband knocked on the door, and obviously we picked safe neighborhoods. But when Thanksgiving Day came, when the kids sat down at our Thanksgiving family meal, they also knew that somewhere, well, they knew exactly where, there was someone else having a whole Thanksgiving meal, and they were having a full tummy and having fun, and they got to select where it was. And you never know how that's going to turn out. But actually, now my kiddos are all grown up. And the other day, or Thanksgiving time, a couple of years ago, my oldest shared with me how she's doing something extremely similar. So it just shows you how important what you do, the kids are watching. Another one that we did way before there was Brown Santa and everything else was we wanted kiddos to have Christmas. And so I would identify, and of course my husband was involved as well, but different locations, and speak to the managers of those locations. And they would help me find a family that needed something, and then gave me some ideas. And because we are blessed, we wanted to give others things too. And so generally most stores make everything about 50% off. So we'd go and get, just little things. And then the kiddos would draw which area was theirs and the family. And we worked it all out. And the long and short of it all is there was Christmas for 3 different families that our children participated in and had, quote, got to be Santa Claus for them. So that's a way how to make some things a family affair. And I'm sure you can come up with some great ideas, which I would love to hear, because I love hearing how to keep love in your heart and ways to share. So those are some simple ways of how to do things. But in closing, what I also want to share is how important music is. So instead of having things around you that's just going to make you mad and turn on music, but some soft, mellow music that just makes you have positive vibrations going through your body. One of the things I do with young kiddos, whether I'm in different countries or in different states, different schools, no matter what grade they all have to learn what I call the happiness song, because I don't know who wrote it or what, but I just titled it the happiness song. And so I'm only going to say the words for you, but I just really feel it just has a great emotional expression. So it goes like this. Happiness runs in a circular motion. Love is like a little boat upon the sea. Everybody is a part of everything anyway. You can be a part if you let yourself be. And you say it over and over and over until it's like going, happiness runs in a circular motion. Love is like a little boat upon the sea. Everybody is a part of everything anyway. Everybody, you can be a part if you let yourself be. And then the kids are all excited. And then you slow it down and you go, happiness runs in a circular motion. Love is like a little boat upon the sea. Everybody is a part of everything anyway. You can be a part if you let yourself be. And I just love that, because we're all part of this world. And I wanted to share with you those beautiful words. And again, whomever wrote it, kudos for them. And I truly believe it helps to make a better you. So thank you, Dr. Jacalyn.
Outstanding, Diann.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. You're so gifted. You're quite the storyteller. Thank you so much. I just want to let you know we do have some comments from Renee. Renee is going to be on our program tomorrow. The dating show. It's all about dating. So she writes, I'm excited to be on tomorrow. And Diann is awesome. Yes, you are awesome, Diann. Thank you, Renee, for watching.
Thanks.
Okay, so panel, let's have a conversation about what we took away from Diann's presentation.
I just want to say one thing, because I think I recently was reading something from a very well-known scientist, and his point was always, if you really know something, if you really do understand something deeply, then you can explain it to a child. And Diann, I think a lot of the wisdom that you offered is the kind of wisdom that applies to everybody of every age, and anybody can benefit by it. Great work.
Thank you.
I love the fact that you brought in personal stories. It really emphasized trying to get around or away from negativity, because that was the focus. And when she talked about smiling, I use that a lot with my audiences to get rid of stress. But if you looked at her throughout the entire time, she was smiling. She had that smile on. So I don't know whether she's stressed or not, or that's just her normal face, but she's living what she's saying.
Really good.
Well said.
Thanks.
Mariska?
Well, I wanted to say I loved the song.
Oh,
I really do. Like you can feel the energy building up as you go faster, faster, faster. So that was really, really great. I loved it, and I'm sure I'll be able to use it. Well, even if it is just in my personal.
Great. Well, I'm happy to send the words to everyone, but also in the schools I'm at, no matter what age they are, whether they're 8th grade or they're 4-year-olds, I show them how, no matter where they're singing, that maybe in another part of the world they're singing it as well, and that how exciting that everyone one day could possibly be singing happiness at the same time. Wouldn't that be lovely?
That would be beautiful. And I have to say, Diann is so incredible. So we met during the pandemic, and I mentioned that before the program, we met through Zane Carson Caruth, and she introduced me to Diann, and Diann introduced me to Red. But Diann has gone out of her way to introduce me to people, and she just has this incredible heart filled with so much love. Like what she just described, that really is who she is. That's how she lives her life.
Thank you.
No, thank you. It's truly amazing. Truly amazing. Diann, one thing before we go on to Mariska, would you share a little bit about your books?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So for the listeners to know, it takes a long time. So there's a huge backstory to finally being published. You could actually make a movie from it. And I'm sure we've all felt like that. But it was important never to give up, because I believe my messages are important for young kiddos as well as adults. My books deal with loving yourself, liking yourself, understanding how to deal with bullies and ignore them. And also some of the books are about faith, hope, and love.
It's beautiful. And Diann, you were on our Wealth of Health events, and one thing that really resonated with me is how children's books are not just for children.
No.
Yeah, they're for all of us. And honestly, I never really thought about that until you shared that during that presentation. And then you read to us some of your book, which was really terrific. So just a quick promo for yourself. Where can people buy your books?
Oh, thank you so much. So if you go to my website, DiannFloydBoehm.com, you can learn about all the books if you wish, and it'll have different places that you can order. Otherwise, you can do Amazon, your Barnes & Noble, and almost any local store carries my books. It might be they have to order it, but they do carry them.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And we're actually going to play a clip that is for you, Diann, and for the book, so people can get a visual on it. All right? But yeah, let's take a second here. Let's tee up this clip. That was beautiful.
It was really nice.
Thank you. Thank you. And Diann, thank you so much. Diann actually signed a copy of her books and mailed them to me, which was so beautiful. And I know you do have a special offer for our viewers and listeners. What would that be, Diann?
Sure. So anyone listening right now, if you sign up for my newsletter, DiannBoehm.com, Diann Floyd Boehm, DiannFloydBoehm.com, and let me know you're watching the show, then I will send you a signed copy of one of my books.
And by the way, on the last program, we did have someone who was watching and got the free book. So if you're out there, let us know. Sign up for her newsletter, and the first 10 people will get a signed copy of her book. Thank you for doing that, Diann. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're moving over to Mariska. Are you ready for your presentation?
Sure.
All right, let's start off with your clip. Here we go. Take a look.
I'm Mariska, a transformation and career coach. I'm looking forward to sharing this experience with you today on Dr. Jacalyn's show. I'm also very excited to announce that the Passion to Financial Freedom workshop that I'm running with a coaching colleague is open for enrollment. The start date is 25 January. For more information, email me, mariska@journeytodiscover.com.
Beautiful. All right, Mariska, you are spotlighted, my friend. Take it away.
Okay. Well, now you have me, and I have to say, all those children's books, got me inspired. I think I need to go and get myself some. I love reading and stories, so so excited. I am also going to share my screen with you guys, so do hold on. So hopefully I get this right this time. I did try before the show to be able to do this. Do you guys see that?
Yes, we do.
Yay, wonderful. Okay. So what I will be taking you guys through today is the Wheel of Life. So the reason why we normally do the Wheel of Life is to give us a bit of an overview about where we are in our lives, what's going on, any areas that need some attention. And then from there, we work towards what it is that we actually want out of life. So with the wheel, you will notice that there is 8 quadrants. So with the quadrants, we fill in whatever it is that's important in your life. So it might be family, it might be career, it might be wealth. You may want to put in some fun and recreation. Ugh, my words are failing me, sorry. You might fill in spirituality, self-development. It's really up to you, the areas that you want to sort of have a look at in your life. So you fill those different ones out in each little pie piece. And then you grade them. So what we do is we grade them from 0 to 10. So 0 is in the middle and 10 would be on the outer edge. Say, for instance, we start off with family. Think about what currently you have in your family, how it is, for what you think your current situation is with your family. So maybe it might be that you haven't been spending enough time with them. It might be that you're going through high stress levels, so your family life might not be so great. It might be a 4 or 5, or the whole pandemic threw you into re-evaluating your priorities and seeing that, well, family is really important, and you have been starting to spend more time with your family, doing more meals as a family together instead of just sitting in front of the TV, that type of thing. And you find that your family little section is at a 8 or a 9. So you do this for each and every one of them. And what we will find is that going through them, you will see that each section will be a little bit different. So what we do is we first evaluate everything from a current perspective. So really think through currently, where do I feel I am at for that specific thing? And there's no right or wrong. It is really just about where you think you are at the moment and having a visual cue as to where this picture in time is sitting for you. So what you would do next with your wheel is you will draw another one exactly like this. And then you think about a time frame in which you want to work. So normally what we propose is to work no less than 3 months, but no more than a year. And the reason for the 3-month year sort of interval is if we do anything less than 3 months, as humans, we have a tendency to sometimes cram in too much in too short a time period, and then we feel overwhelmed and we end up not doing it. And if we extend it to more than a year, we think, oh yeah, I've got so much time, and we end up just extending the thing that we want to do, and we end up again not doing it, or not doing it as well as we could. So normally anything between 3 months and a year, that's like the sweet spot. and look at your wheel. So the ones that is high. So say, for instance, family, I rate it as an 8. Very happy with my family life. Fun and recreation, I rate it as a 7. Still happy with that. But maybe on my financial side, I feel, oh, I need to work on that. That in my career, it's not ideal at the moment. It's maybe I'm not in the place where I want to be. So they might be rating at a 3 or 4. Now, this scale is your personal scale, so do write down more or less why you've got to that specific number. It does help when you're reviewing it, so you know what your baseline was according. So looking at it on my wheel, I will see, okay, so my career, now I need to work on that a little bit, and my finances, I need to work on that a little bit. The rest of them feel not too bad. So on my new wheel, what I want to be doing is look at each section, but especially the ones where I feel I want to work on. And on those specific sections, determine your time frame and how much you want it to move. So say, for instance, my career is at a 4, and I want to move my career into an 8. Now, what would that entail? Is it that I want a new job? So maybe I'm not happy in the job I'm at the moment because the environment might not be the environment that I'm looking for, or it's not quite the job that I want. It's one of those in-between jobs, so it's not quite on my career path at the moment. What is it about it that I want to change? And get really clear about that. Because in order for you to move to your 8, you need to know what it is that you're moving towards and what it is that you're working towards. Now, preferably, if you find that on your wheel, you have, so normally you have like 8 pieces, and say, for instance, 5 of them are very low. The suggestion would be to work on no more than 3 at a time. 3 is quite a lot to work on already, because you do want to put a lot of energy into it. And look at, if possible, look at the one area where you can work on that's going to have the biggest impact. So say, for instance, I said my career is very low, my finance is very low, and I might have also put my wealth as very low. So if I'm going to work on my career, being happier in my job will impact my finances and will impact my wealth, because I'm going to get most probably another job or get promoted as soon as I get happier in my job, right? So this is a little bit of that love lesson that we had earlier on. Just being a little bit happier in what we do and how we do it, and having a passion for it, it shows. And by it showing, it changes the way that we look at things. So look at the one that would have an impact on more of the circle than just in one area. And then be really, really clear what it is that you want to be doing for that specific one, how you want it to look like. So in 6 months from now, I want to not necessarily be in a new job, but I want to make sure that my relationships with everybody that I work with in my work environment is really great, because that's going to make me feel really good about what I do. It's going to make me feel that I'm contributing to the team more, and it's going to uplift my spirits. By doing that, I can then look at different areas of maybe moving into a career that I enjoy more, or just taking on projects that I enjoy more. So all of those are options to get me from a 4 then to an 8. One of the other things that we also want to be doing is, because this is a little bit time-based, so you're going to do it for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or a year, whatever the case might be, is to evaluate it in intervals. So say, for instance, I'm going to have a 6-month goal that I want to look at. every month have a quick view. Every 2 months have a little bit more of a, where am I? Am I still tracking towards what I'm working towards or not? Being able to have your intervals and viewing where you're tracking helps you to also make sure that you actually attain that goal of getting to an 8 in that area of your life. So as you guys can see, the Wheel of Life is actually quite extensive, and we can use it in a variety of different ways. So I find it a very, very useful tool. And if you guys would like any more information on it, you are more than welcome to email me, and we can work through something that is a little bit more tailored to you. But I hope that that information was helpful.
Excellent. Excellent. Great job, Mariska. Really. I also want to share with everyone that Mariska has been my coach, and she worked with me, what was it, for 9 months or so?
Yeah, about.
So she really helped me work through what I needed to do to leave corporate America and to go out on my own. So she was here through the whole process, even writing the letter of resignation and having it up on the refrigerator with a certain date that I was going to go. And so she's an excellent coach. Really good presentation too.
Great.
Thank you, Jacalyn.
Thank you. So have you guys seen the wheel before?
No.
It's the first time.
I've seen something very similar to it in some motivational speaking events I've been to. Not exactly what she has, but very similar.
And so what were your thoughts having seen it for the first time or something similar, Al?
You know, I think whenever we are presented with an opportunity to be more mindful about what we do every day and the effect that what we do without thinking has on our actual life, I think what Mariska is doing is creating a kind of a structure in something that's normally kind of unconscious. And if you really want to take control of who you are and where you fit in the world, you're going to have to do it the way Mariska is telling us to do it.
Really good point. How about you, Diann?
I loved it. And Al, you said that so eloquently. It was great. But
Probably had a good day, Diann.
I love the Wheel of Life. I was curious if you ever have a thing like, is there a certain balance that you need that you share with your clients in this Wheel of Life?
So Diann, normally with the wheel it's sort of a snapshot of what's happening, right? We a lot of the times we go through life and we don't really assess what we're doing or where we're going. And this just helps us a little bit with that. So where you are, I mean, if you're happy at a 6, that's fine. Then you're happy at a 6.
Mm-hmm.
But if you feel that you want to get to a 10, then what is it going to take to get you to a 10? And what area do you want to be at a 10? If you want to have everything at a 10, yes, that's possible. But what will it take to get there? So it's all about what your internal drive is. And for everybody, it's going to be different. And that's why I said with the wheel, we normally take about 8 slices. So it covers most of what we think of as things that contribute to our life. But for one person, they might put in spirituality. Another person might put in relationships. So what we put into the wheel is also very individual and up to every person as to what they value in their life and what they want to make more of.
I love that, because if it's okay, Dr. Jacalyn, I like to just say one more thing.
Sure.
So what's so exciting about that to me is that I think sometimes all of us, or at least I know in my own life, we get so bogged in making sure like my classes and doing everything right and etc. that sometimes we lose a little piece of ourselves. So it seems like in the Wheel of Fortune, how funny, Wheel of Life, in the Wheel of Life, it gives you a moment to step back and evaluate, did you lose a piece of yourself? And if you did, how do we get that piece back? So for example, maybe you really love singing, but you haven't been singing in a long time, but you needed that singing back to help you find and be who you're meant to be. Does that make sense at all? I don't know. You can tell me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
If I could pick up on that a little bit, I think that when you talk about, when you become mindful about the things you want to change about yourself and you realize that maybe your relationships aren't working or maybe your career isn't working, I think if you're not mindful about that, sometimes you'll turn the relationship knobs trying to change the career knob. You know, if you know what I mean. In other words, if your career is frustrating you, then focus on that. Don't torture the people you live with to try to change that part of your life that really needs to change, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So I think where Mariska really offers a lot of value is that you learn where the controls are and you go to the controls that matter for what you're trying to accomplish. And you don't just go wandering around the dashboard, twisting and turning different knobs, hoping for a better outcome. I don't know whether I got that right, Mariska, but it sounds like...
Alan, that is yet again very eloquently put, yes.
Absolutely. Amazing.
One comment I was going to share, and Mariska, maybe you can touch on this, and then I want to go over to Red. You and I, when we worked together, for me to leave corporate America and the paycheck and the benefits and all the security, we worked together on putting plans A, B, and C. So that if you're on that wheel and you want to go from one point to another, maybe it's not going to work in just one plan. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
I think that is also where when you think about going from, say, a 4 to an 8, you need to think about the steps that you want to take. And as Jacalyn said, it isn't necessarily just plan A, right? I might try plan A, and plan A doesn't feel right, and it's really frustrating, and it's not working. That doesn't matter. Then try something else. We are not trees. We are not planted. We can move. So try something different. If the first thing didn't work and you absolutely feel that you have tried everything regarding it and it's not what you want, change it. Think of it as little experiments. Experiment with it, see what happens. If you're happy with it, you can keep it. If you're not happy with it, change it. Experiment with something else. And get it until it is something that you feel, okay, now this thing is the thing that I feel will work for me and I can move with this.
Good point. And I think it's also having the confidence in your plan, knowing that you have plan A, B, and C, and you decide, like A wasn't working for me. So I moved into B and I thought, oh, well, there's C. What if I get to C and that's not working? And I said to myself, no, you're going to make it work because you're going to be in your lane. So Red, I want to go over to you and see what comments you might have.
I think her underlying theme of being happy works perfectly in A Better You. She identifies those things that we really need, but we have to put it in writing. And when you put it in writing, things generally have a tendency to happen. And then on top of that, you put a quantified number on it. Now all of a sudden you have a little bit more individual ownership of that. And you can't get from where you are to where you want to be without some level of clarity of really where you are and really what you want. And I think she did a very good job of sticking with that topic throughout, because it does make you a better you.
Excellent. What a great group of panelists we have today. I'm so excited. So we're going to move over to Mr. Cini. Thank you, Mariska. We're going to move over to Alan. Al, we're going to play one of your clips. Do you want to tee it up before we play it?
Sure, well, I'm not sure which one it is, but
become a BCAT coach.
Yeah, let's. This is about teaching people how to work with teams, and we've developed a kind of an innovative way to approach the concept of coaching a team. In a way, what I'm going to try to talk about is pushing the envelope on a better you, to talk about how we can become a better we if we're a member of a team. So this video talks about how we work with coaches to do that, and then I'll explain the method to you.
Excellent. All right, here we go. Let's take a look.
Thank you.
Maybe you're a business consultant who helps people promote, run, and grow their companies. Maybe you're a personal or professional coach who helps people live better lives and get ahead in their careers. Or maybe you're a business leader, project manager, or HR professional looking for a new way to motivate and fully engage your company's employees in the important work they do. No matter what your particular specialty might be, great consultants, coaches, trusted advisors, and business leaders like you have one thing in common: your passion for leading people to become their best self. We've worked with hundreds of professionals like you over many years, and we've learned one thing. At the heart of every successful organization, there's a signature role model. Think of it as an organization's North Star that represents everyone's best self. We've developed a scientific system that reveals and expresses an organization's best self and inspires everyone to align themselves with it. It's magic. It works for everyone at every level within a company. And in just a few hours, we can teach you how to use it to strengthen your consulting and coaching practice, or make you a hero within your company. We're the people who developed the Brand and Culture Alignment Toolkit, or BCAT, and we're inviting you to join our team. Become a BCAT certified practitioner. Contact us at www.getbcat.com/certification or call 1-855-999-BCAT.
Excellent. I love that messaging. Really good. Al, are you ready to do your presentation?
I am. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to spotlight you and start the timer. Go ahead.
Thanks. I'm waiting for there we go. I get my 15 minutes. And thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. It's a great opportunity. That whole idea of getting a group of people together and inspiring them to become their best selves. And, one of the things let me start at the very, very beginning. When I was a kid, I grew up in South Philadelphia in a neighborhood in a small row home, and we were baby boomers. So there were like 1,000 kids on that street. And, whenever the kids would go out to play, and I was one of them, the kids would generally play by themselves, or they'd play in small groups, and they'd all stay by their front steps, and they'd never really actually get together to do anything. And I was the guy who would get them all together to form a baseball league, or get them all together to form a football league. And the funny thing about that was I couldn't play baseball and I couldn't play football. I was no good at any of those things. But I had this kind of core competency, this gift of being able to get 50 kids organized around the idea of playing baseball or football. And so the tough kids, the big kids, would immediately take charge once I got it started. They would pick sides. I would be picked last because I stunk. But I didn't care, because all I wanted to do was get all those kids to get out there and play, if you know what I mean. And anyway, my contribution to the day was that I just knew how to get a bunch of kids who had different plans for themselves and for each other to abandon all those plans and accept or adopt the idea that they can all plan something together. Okay, this is me at the age of 5 or 6. I mean, I did actually go to college for psychology, but I never this is a Mark Twain quote, I never let college stand in the way of my education. So just about everything I know, I learned by some life experience, and that's one that I remember from when I was a little kid. So fast forward. For 15 years, I was a project manager for NBC Universal. I worked at 30 Rock in New York City. And my job was to try to get 150 kids. They were adults, but they might as well have been kids. My job was to try to get 150 kids who didn't report to me. I couldn't punish them. I couldn't fire them. I couldn't bonus them. My job was to get 150 people to want to do something. I was a project manager. So this was during that period of time when TV stations were making the transition from analog to digital. There was a lot of work to do and a lot of TV stations that needed to be converted, and there were a lot of moving parts. And one of the reasons why they kept me around, even though I was a relatively expensive consultant, and GE is not known for generosity. GE does not stand for generosity. Let's just put it that way. The reason why they kept me around was because I did this magic trick. I was able to get a group of people who all had jobs, all had paychecks, all had things to do. I was able to get them to take part of their day and give it to not me, but to this project. And the way I did it was by loving that project so much that I got a good percentage of the people that were involved in getting it finished to fall in love with it too. And that led me to learn something. Leadership is absolutely not about being a leader. People really don't follow people. What people follow is people follow what people follow. So the magic of leadership is it's invisible. When you love something so much and you work so hard at it yourself that other people observe that, they catch it. And after they catch it, you don't have to lead them anymore. They lead you. You follow around behind them and give them what they need: pizzas, parties, promotional hats. I think, Dr. Jacalyn, I got this from you. That's what you give them. You give them promotional hats, and that's how you keep them. That's how you keep them going. I don't know whether this makes any sense, but the magic of getting a team together has nothing at all to do with directing any of the members of the team. It has to do with inspiring the team and aligning them around some kind of a goal that they consider to be more valuable than themselves. And when you do that, that's when the magic happens. And that's why GE didn't fire me, even though I was expensive. They kept me around. They couldn't explain why. They just said, we really can't get rid of this guy. He does this thing. We don't even know what it is, but somehow, because he does this, work gets done faster. It gets done under budget. We get a better outcome from it. And people seem to be happy while they're doing it. So, okay, but what is it that I was doing? And that was the real challenge for me, because I am actually a quant. I mean, I have some people skills, but mostly I'm a numbers guy. And so I started to think, what is it that I'm doing without realizing what I'm doing? And I figured I'd spend a couple of months trying to figure that out and try to develop a formula for it. And here I am about 8 years down the road, after running pilots, and I've invested an enormous amount of money in trying different things and pulling focus groups together and trying to figure out what causes that magic inflection point where all of a sudden a group of people really wants to work together to get things done. And I think I finally found it. And it all boils down to one magical question that I'm going to teach you how to ask in about a minute. I'm down to 10 minutes, so I got a little bit of time I can burn between now and then. There's a pretty well-known sales consultant named Mark Taylor who said that if you're trying to sell somebody something, and really leadership is a selling process. If you're trying to sell somebody something, he said, there are different levels of competence, and those levels of competence are kind of identified by the kinds of questions you ask. So if I want to sell you something and I ask you a question that I know the answer to, but you don't, that gives me an opportunity to brag about something that I know that you don't. And maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get a relationship out of that, but usually it doesn't work. It's one way to engage somebody. Another kind of question I can ask is I can ask you a question that you know the answer to, but I don't. That's a little deeper, and it's a little bit more relationship oriented. Questions like, so what is it that keeps you up at night? What is it that you're most worried about in your business? Those are good examples of that kind of question. But usually they don't lead anywhere either. So Mark Taylor said the best kind of question you can ask in an encounter with anybody is a question that neither of you know the answer to, but it's such an important question that you're both willing to work together to try to find the answer, whatever that might be. I don't know it, you don't know it, but together, if we work together on the answer, we'll discover something. Does that make sense? All right. So here's that question I told you I was going to teach you. You take a group of people that has something to do, something in common. Could be a project team, could be a department in a company, could be a police department. I've done a few of those. Could be a marketing company. I've done a few of those. You get that group of people together in a room, and that room could be a Zoom room. They don't have to be physically near each other. You sit them all down and you ask them something that we've created that we call the incorporating question. Now, I think we're finally beginning to get traction with all this, because last week I've noticed people have stopped asking me, BCAT, where did you get that stupid name? And instead, now they're asking me, BCAT, what does that do? How can I use it? So I know I'm getting some traction with this. BCAT, the Brand and Culture Alignment Toolkit, stands for aligning an organization's brand, which is the behavior it engages in, what you see when you're interacting with that group, with their culture, which is the attitudes and emotions and feelings and fundamental things that motivate the people on the team. When you align an organization's brand with its culture, it becomes an unstoppable force in the market that it serves, in the community that it serves. And that really is what the Brand and Culture Alignment Toolkit is about. Now, there's an awful lot of talk about alignment, and people use that word a lot, especially these days. Question is, aligned with what? Very important question. If you take your car in to get the wheels aligned, the job isn't to try to align 3 of the wheels with the most wobbly 4th. What you need to do to align the wheels of a car is to identify a point of reference outside the car that is the direction the car wants to move in, and align all 4 wheels with that external point of reference. Make sense? Okay, so how do you align a team? Here it is. You ask everybody together to think deeply about this question. Think of our entire team, that's everybody on it, all the tools we use, all the work we do, everything about us, as though it were a single person. That's why we call it the incorporating question. Take this whole group, let's say this whole panel for a better you, where whatever it is we're doing, when we're doing it all together and we're doing the best we can possibly be doing, imagine all of us as a single person working with Dr. Jacalyn, doing our best work on our best day to keep all of our promises and achieve all of our goals. And then the question is, what would that person be like? What are the attributes of that person that identifies us collectively when we're doing our best work on our best day? Then you go around the room and you ask people to throw out what they believe are attributes. Is this person stern, strict? Is this person forgiving, generous? Is this person smart, expert, doesn't make any mistakes? Is this person creative? Is this person, all those attributes, you write them all down, because everybody's point of view, everybody's answer is equally valuable and equally valid. You want to write them all down on the whiteboard that you've got for your Zoom meeting, or on a blackboard if you happen to be meeting together. You write all these answers down. And gradually what you're doing is collaborating with each other to identify the role model. And, earlier, Diann, you were talking about the value of role models in teaching children. And what we know from everything in developmental psychology is that we learn to be better people by emulating the behavior of people we respect. What we're really doing is, with this question, is asking everybody to participate in the process of bringing to life the ideal person that represents all of us when we're doing our best work on our best day. As we write all those things down, what we're doing is bringing to life that person who represents that better version of ourselves that we were hoping to become by joining this team, by doing this work, by sharing these goals. And that becomes the point of alignment for the team. Once you've got that role model articulated and laid out, then everybody can start writing down on a sheet of paper the 2 or 3 things about themselves on their wheel of life, the 2 or 3 things about themselves that they feel they can change to be more like that role model. And what makes this such a powerful exercise is it's not just for the workers, it's for everybody, including and maybe especially the leaders. And one of the big aha moments comes when a leader realizes that in fact they're not walking the talk of their own organization, that their organization is actually on a different mission than the one he or she believes they're leading it on. And I've seen plenty of cases where the boss has said, everybody else is right and I'm wrong, and I need to make these 3 changes in the way I manage this organization in order to be more effective. So it really is all about that. And it is about a better you for all of us in the context of who we are together when we're working together as a team or a family. We've piloted it with a couple of families. As a family, who are we when we're out in the world as a family? What is it that makes us special as a family? It's amazing how even teenagers, and believe me, teenagers can be difficult to work with. I've had a couple. Even teenagers will relate or respond favorably to thinking that way. And it changes the way people think about themselves in the context of this larger mission they're serving. It also means that the parents aren't parents anymore, and the kids aren't kids anymore. They're all friends and associates and colleagues working together. And in my experience at GE and my experience on Clarion Street in South Philadelphia, that's how you make it a winning team. That's brand and culture alignment. And thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Thank you. You guys are all muted.
Everyone's muted. Yes. Nice job, Al.
Thank you. I saw the applause, and I appreciate that.
Really great presentation.
Thank you. It's
So
fun.
I love how there's symmetries between the presentations that we've heard so far. It's really interesting.
We're all climbing the same mountain along different faces.
Yes.
When we get to the top, we'll be in the same place. I know that. That's the fun of it.
I like it. Red, what are your thoughts about Al's presentation?
Well, the first thing that jumped out at me toward the end was the fact that you have a role model. And I think when we look at a better you, when we look at a role model, we want to be more like that person. If that person is the person we want to emulate, regardless of how we get there, we need to make some changes. Then we do become a better you because we have a role model to follow or a role model to become for other people. It may be what part of your life you're in. He had an innate ability to organize, to see a picture, to make it happen. But later on, he took that innate ability and cashed it in, so to speak. So when we have that role model, whether it's for 2 or 3 people, a family, or 50 people on a project, that role model becomes a better you. He basically, I would say, a better cog in the wheel, or a better cog in the wheel, probably because we're talking about a big project. And each one of those cogs get better. They become more efficient. They become a better it, if I could use that word.
More committed to their work. And, thank you, Red. That was actually very astute. I appreciate that.
Nice job, Red. Diann?
Wow, you're amazing. Everybody must thrive when they get to work with you. It's incredible.
Well, I'll give you the names of some relatives you could talk to.
One of the things that, well, there were several things. What Red said absolutely entered my mind. But also what it reminded me of is that you use the word passion, and passion does drive things. And also you talked about building that team. And I think it's important to know that that people can build that team. And maybe you could share a little bit more about having the strength to do that if it's maybe your first time to do that. And what it made me think about was I wear lots of hats because I can't just be happy at doing one thing. I love connecting people and making things happen. And so I was one of the first educators in the U.S. to adopt technology into the classroom, and I became extremely passionate about it. But the bottom line was that in Texas, we were getting ready to take away some of the funding for technology. And I was just like not going to have that happen because there were too many schools that still needed to get technology in the classroom in the hands of the kids. Because for me, I believe in using the technology correctly, that educators need to use it just like pencil is a tool, and knowing when and how to use it so that a child can thrive. And if they don't even have that, then what's going to happen to them? So I built what was called the Texas Capitol Schoolhouse, which a friend runs today. And the bottom line was I had to do exactly what you said. And I had no idea how to do it, but I knew what I was going to do. So I called a certain person and we did exactly what you said, built a team. And before I knew it, we were showing the state legislators why they had to continue with this funding. And we brought kids into the Capitol and we built a schoolhouse to show them and to demonstrate. And so I was so pleased to hear about you saying passion and teamwork. And so maybe you could share with the listeners how to have the strength to go after and build that team.
That was great and very provocative, Diann, because it turns out that education is kind of a sweet spot for the approach. Mm-hmm. When you go to a typical school, and we've done a couple of colleges, a bunch of charter schools, the role model for the administrators, the people that run the school, is a different role model from the staff, the people that manage the day-to-day of the school. And it's a different role model from the faculty, the people that actually educate the children. One of the reasons why there are so many pointless fights in academics is because everybody is following a different role model. They're all trying to be a different, better version of themselves. Mm-hmm. So most of the arguments are about things that don't really matter to what the school is actually trying to accomplish. The administrators want to hear that people are concerned about grades and they're moving the needle on grades every day. Mm-hmm. The staff wants to know that people are complying with all the rules. That's what they do. Educators want to know that they're actually reaching the children and making a difference in their lives. What I love about this work is when you get those three groups of people together and you ask them to think about the whole school as though it were a single person doing its best work on its best day to keep all of its promises and achieve all of its goals, one role model emerges that's specific to that school that all three groups feel they need to be more like in order to be a better version of themselves.
Wow.
And that eliminates a lot of the pointless bickering and silly arguments. And passion, you mentioned passion. Progress, motivation is an emotional, it's the word. Think about it. What motivates people are feelings, not facts. Mm-hmm. Facts can steer and guide people, but it's feelings that move them. And most project managers, most people who run projects concentrate so much on the facts, focus so much on blaming and shaming people for not meeting their deadlines, they forget the reason why people were born. The reason people were born to make a difference. And when you forget that, you can't motivate anybody. You'll never get anything done.
Really great points, Al. Thank you. And thank you, Diann. Mariska, any comments that you have?
I just love the fact Al brought back the feeling. And for me, that is where the passion comes into. If you are passionate about something, you can see it on the person's face. It lights up. You see it in their eyes. You feel it in the words. Whereas if it's just a bunch of facts that they're trying to push down your throat, it's literally just that. It's like, yeah, it's a bit boring. So that, and it absolutely makes sense that you need that to almost the team leading that you, or team leader that you explained, is a person that they lead from the front, but they also encourage from the back. It feels like they're with the group. They're not going so far ahead and trying to pull everybody else. They're gently taking them along. And that is also that doing it with love that we heard from earlier on. I think that came through quite a bit too, which I found quite inspiring.
Oh.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. We actually have a comment from our friend Lisa Manioki. Every company, no matter how large or small, can benefit from Al's guidance. That's true. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa. Very nice.
Okay, so Red, you are next up, and I want to thank everyone. We are actually running exactly on time. So kudos, our first show, and we're on time. Yay.
Good leadership.
Yes.
So Red, are you ready to be spotlighted?
Absolutely.
All right, let me just get the timer set over here for you. All right, you're on.
I mentioned earlier that I'm a writer, a speaker, and a publisher. When I first started writing, it was primarily in high school and college. Most of my writing was answering the question, what? And I think that's kind of where most of us get started. We're trying to answer a question. But as I got into the military, as I got into business, and I put 31 years in the Navy, 4.5 on active duty, 20 in the reserves, another 6+ on active duty. And I got a chance to see, 61 countries in the world. I got a chance to see a lot of things, but my focus in my writing was now to answer the question, how to? And that becomes very important. But lately, in the last, I'm going to say at least 5 years, my focus has been more on the why. If you understand why, then a lot of other things fall into place. I think if you're a writer, you need to write literally every day. I've written over 1,000 blogs, probably about 1,300 blogs, but my last 380, I guess, have all been in a row. I've written a blog every single day since the first of last year. So if you're writing, it becomes a passion. That's what you want to do. I've had a couple nights, a long time ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, when I was writing, and I'm in bed at night, and all of a sudden I'm realizing I didn't write anything today. And I get up and I go write, because I was part of a group that had to write 500 words every day. Regardless, as I started doing this, I've never been afraid of speaking, but one of the things that I joined was a group called Toastmasters. And I could take a 5-minute subject and cram it into 20 minutes very easily. But to take a 20-minute speech and to really do a very good job in 5 minutes is a different skill set than I had. So here I am doing my presentations. I became a distinguished Toastmaster, and I'm up there and I'm telling the audience, you gained a lot more credibility as a speaker if you're introduced as a published author, especially in the field you're in. Little did I know that that particular speech would veer off into another career path. About a year later, I'm at a different Toastmaster meeting. I'm speaking on a similar subject, and one of the guys that had been at that one came up to me afterwards and says, "Hey, I wrote a book, but I can't get it published." At that point in time, I think I had 2 or maybe 3 books published of my own. And I said, well, let me see what I can do. And so for a very small amount of money, I published his book. Within 3 weeks, he had a book in his hand. And he told somebody, and they told somebody, and they told somebody. And then all of a sudden, I knew, hey, I'm in a peripheral business. So that is one of the things I do. But I only do that for a very narrow margin. But when you look at writing a book, there's a simple, easy formula that can be used in a number of cases, depending on the type of the book you're looking at. If I were to say, Al or Jacalyn, tell me about the first car you ever had. You could do it without even thinking about it. There are some questions we know so much about that question, and I think Al touched on it if you ask somebody about what they know. But if you put this into the form of an interview, all of a sudden you have a magic formula for writing a book. And what happens is that if you're standing in front of a podium talking to a bunch of people, that dynamic is much better because you have it organized than sitting trying to type on a keyboard. However, the amount of editing that's required from typing on a keyboard is much more than if you're talking to an audience and recording it, but there's almost no editing. And that's a big deal as an author, is editing. There's almost no editing if you are, in fact, answering an interview question. So if I said, Al, let's take the 40 questions that need answering for your audience in the area of developing a brand or whatever it may happen to be. And I say, take the best 20 and come up with the bullets in the order that you want to talk about it. You and I will have this list. We'll sit down eyeball to eyeball, and we're going to record it. There's a company that a human will listen to it, and within 24 hours, you're going to have a manuscript back. That manuscript can be done literally in a couple hours of talking. You have a book. You have another 20 questions. It could be a second book. But the editing almost goes away because it's an interview question. You're answering a question eyeball to eyeball, and it just makes it so simple to make that happen. So maybe one of those people that's listening, one of the people listening today, a better you is if you had a book. Maybe it helps your business. Maybe it just helps you become happier. But it is a credibility issue having a book being introduced regardless of where you're at. So as I was going along doing these things, I ended up veering off into the area of self-improvement. I wrote a couple books in that area. And all of a sudden, my wife came down with breast cancer. And I'm doing a little bit of research. And I found out that the books I was writing in self-improvement and motivation, yeah, they're nice. I liked it, but I had no passion for it. My first love was chemistry, long before I met my wife. Been married 52 years. I said I do to the Navy on a Sunday afternoon. I said I do to my wife the following Wednesday afternoon. And I put 31 years in the Navy. This year will be 53 years with my wife. But what I found out was I started going as a caregiver, trying to look at things, and I'm looking at it from a chemistry. What can I do? I could literally fix a lot of the side effects she had from chemo, except for fatigue. I could not address that. And no matter what I did, it was a 1 or 2 2-hour naps a day. However, just between months of chemo and beginning weeks of radiation, I put her on a special kind of diet plan. It's called the Walls Protocol, WAHLS, the Walls Protocol. Dr. Terry Walls I believe she's an internist, and she had multiple sclerosis very late in life. It became very horrendous to her. She's in a wheelchair for years. She did some research. She wrote about balanced nutrition, exercise, toxin removal, and stress relief. She put herself on her own protocol, and within literally 3 months, she was able to get out of a wheelchair and walk using a walker. A month later, she's walking using a cane. And before the end of the year, she could bicycle 18 miles without a problem. I said, Marilyn, my wife, let's try this. I mean, it just took MS away from a person who had it for years and was getting progressively worse. What can I do? So he put her on this protocol, And 48 hours into, we started on day 1 of radiation. 48 hours into her radiation, she's never taken another nap, and that's been almost 5 years, 6 years almost. And it was all because of balanced nutrition. Who would have thunk it? I mean, it's just, it makes sense, but we don't realize in our bodies how many deficiencies we have. And so if you take a look at the 30 or more nutrients the body needs on a daily basis, and we start feeding ourselves what we need, we become a better you. It's a lesson learned. It's one of those things that we can do because we just make different choices on what we're eating. Now, I know people say, what's in this diet? It's basically fruits and vegetables, a little bit of protein, some healthy fats. What you're not hearing about is a lot of unhealthy fats and a lot of carbohydrates. But the fruits and vegetables are the things, and they have to be certain types of fruits and vegetables, a lot of leafy green vegetables, a lot of sulfur-laden vegetables, a lot of vegetables where the color goes all the way through the vegetable or the fruit, like a blueberry, not an eggplant. That color is very important for the phytonutrients. So as I'm looking at those things, and I'm starting to get more and more into this, well, let me learn some more, I found out that there's certain things happen in the body a certain way. And one of them is calcium. We can take calcium by a pill, but most of the time it ends up in the toilet. But if you take calcium as a part of spinach or kale or something else, and you actually get it into your body, unless you have enough magnesium, which most people are deficient in, it doesn't become bioavailable and it doesn't really become absorbable. And so you need to get that into an absorbable form. Then it leaves the stomach, and then all of a sudden, if you have enough vitamin D3 in your body, all of a sudden the bloodstream sucks it in, and now you have calcium in your bloodstream. But it may not end up in the bones. If you have enough vitamin K2, it will end up in the bones. If you're not, then lack of vitamin K2 or deficiency, that calcium will end up in the heart valves and arteries, and that's not where you want calcification of your arteries. However, another thing that I learned more recently is the fact that if you increase your dosages of K2, particularly the monoquinone MK4, that particular one has the ability to go in and start removing the calcium from your arteries and heart valves. So that is kind of a major lesson learned to me. In fact, the Japanese are using that as part of their program for putting calcium back into the bones for people who are osteoporosis. And they've been doing that now for 4 or 5 years. So as I'm starting to look at these things, I'm starting to see, well, why does it do this thing? The last company I worked for, Halliburton, I was involved in a program called Taproot. And you basically go down 7 levels of why. Why did that happen? Why did it fail? Well, why did that occur? Why? And so that's the basis of why I do things. I look at what goes on in the human body at the cellular level, biochemically speaking. I'm looking for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, you fix a problem. Treat a symptom, you'll always treat that symptom. So that's what I write about. That's what I speak about. And that's what I have a real passion about. That's what I really want to know about. So as I'm doing these things, one of the books I wrote is Joy of Ageless Health. I wrote that one in about 3 months. It became a bestseller in 2019. And it talks about these simple things that we can do. But when we're looking at it, simple is not always simple. You know, we hear about toxins all the time. But toxins, unless you are aware of what they are, and unless you read labels, you're doing the same thing over and over again. We want a better you, we want a better us, but we have to invest a little bit more time to get there. I am a big advocate on balanced nutrition. I've seen it work. It's amazing. I'm also an advocate on caloric restriction. Nutritionists will tell you need 15 calories per day to maintain body weight. However, you put any kind of animal on a restricted calorie diet, they live longer, they look younger, and they don't have the same kind of diseases their peers have. So if you start looking at caloric restriction, cutting back your calories, and one of the easiest ways to do that is just use a salad plate. Don't use a full dinner plate. I've been doing that now for years. You fill up that plate with the things that are healthy. May not start out that way, but limit yourself to that one salad plate. That's it. No seconds. That's it. That becomes an easy part of a lifestyle change that can make it better you. So those are things in there. I also look at pH. It's the amount of acidity or alkalinity on the bottom in your body. The more vegetables and fruits you have, the more alkaline you are. Now, disease has a very, very difficult getting a foothold in an alkaline body. However, if you're acidic by eating carbohydrates, proteins, fats, more of those than you do anything else, then all of a sudden your body becomes acidic And the little thing that most people have no idea about is the fact that in an acidic body, your body will pull calcium out of your bones to keep your blood pH normal. So all of a sudden, over years, you become osteopenia, and then osteoporosis sets in. I didn't know this until way back when I got my first bone density test, and I found out I was osteopenia. I said, couldn't be. I've been lifting weights for decades, been running for decades. I should have some of the strongest bones around. My research finally figured out what was wrong. So those are things that if you don't know, you can't fix something. And that kind of goes back to Mariska's deal. If you don't know where you are, you can't get any further down the road. Exercise is one of those things. Any kind of exercise helps. Some exercises help so much better than other ones. Stress reduction. If we're not taking time every single day to do something to relieve stress. Now, one thing I loved about Diann's comment is about stress, about smiling. Just the mere fact that a smile forces things back into your brain. You can't have a negative and a positive thought in your brain at the same time. Your face is an instant indicator of what you're thinking. So if you happen to have something really bothering you, your face is going to show it. If something's bothering you and you put that smile on it, like Diann recommended, all of a sudden you're forcing muscles to go the opposite direction into the brain. You can't sustain that negative thought much longer. But we also have to be aware of the things that we're not eating but using to make up for that. Now, two things I don't particularly find the right foods for is the vitamin K2, because that's a lot of organ meats, cheese and dairy, and that's not really something I eat a lot more anymore. So I will actually go and supplement vitamin K2, but I also supplement vitamin E because there's 8 different components in vitamin E. If you're deficient in vitamin B12, it's a cobalamin. It doesn't do well passing through the stomach. So if you're not taking it under the tongue, there's something wrong with the B12 you're taking. There are just a lot of things. In some particular cases, a particular like curcumin or resveratrol are much more bioabsorbable if there's black pepper extract in it. So it's just a matter of you start with a want, then you start with an expectation, and you follow with an expectation because that talks to the subconscious mind. Then you start becoming aware, and then you become educated, and then before you know it, you're a better you by default because it just happens. But those are the things that to me become very, very important in my life, and I'm super happy to share it with everyone. Thank you, Jacalyn.
Sorry, I've got everyone muted. Okay, that was terrific, Red. Lots of really good information. And I just interviewed Red not that long ago, and I'm thrilled to let you know that I'm going to be working with him for the book that I want to get out there in the world. So I'm looking forward to doing that with Red. So, and thank you, Diann, for introducing us. Al, what are your thoughts about Red's presentation?
The older I get, the more I need to take notes when somebody like Red is talking. There are so many stupid things I do every day, and just my diet that I know are not good for me, and but I don't pay enough attention to it. And I mean, really simple questions like the pH level in your body chemistry and how it influences your susceptibility to disease. I think that's great advice. Thanks, Red.
Excellent. And I love the recommendation of the salad plate. I've started doing that because you really don't realize how much food you're eating when you have that dinner plate and then you're piling it up, and it's not good. Mariska, what thoughts do you have?
I loved seeing Red's passion come through. As soon as he started talking about nutrition, it's almost like there's just not enough time and too much information. And it's like, Red, can I borrow you for like a day and just unpack all of this? I would love to. I would really love to.
That's excellent. Diann?
Well, I can't say enough. I actually purchased, Red, your book, as you know, on longevity. So maybe you could make reference to that for a moment. And I'm telling you, I'm about to order 3 more books for gifts. And I've been telling everyone about it. I mean, just in the first 5 pages, I learned more about my life and what I needed to do to improve. You're just a wealth of information. I do have a question for you, though. How can a person is it possible for us to, is there a stick or something we can use that says you ate too much tomato soup, because I love tomato soup and it's acidic, to get that balance you're talking about?
Yeah, pH strips, it's just basically a little strip, and you touch it to your tongue and turns a color. Whatever that color is, you match it up to the scale on the side, and if it's blue or yellow or green or red, it's going to tell you exactly where you're at. The blood needs to be at 7.4 plus or minus 0.05 to be normal, and that's where the blood wants to be. If it's above that, then the body's happy. It's amazing how happy the body is. If it's below that in the sixes, it's going to suck that calcium out all day long. You're going to end up being more susceptible to disease. Disease starts at the cellular level with chronic low-level inflammation. Over years and years, decades, it builds up. You may have a tumor or something wrong, but it takes years for that to actually, even if you knew you had it, to find it. Once you have it and it can be found, you're not even looking for it. Then all of a sudden, you have it, it's bothering you, and they say, hey, you got 6 months to live. These things, the other advocate I am is get an annual physical. I haven't missed an annual physical since 1968. You have to know where you are in order to improve each year. I get extra blood tests done every single year, so I know what my C-reactive protein is. That's something that tells me my entire body inflammation. I rarely, most of the time, you can't get a measure on it. It's less than 0.25. I want to know my homocysteine level. I want to know how healthy my heart is. These are simple, easy tests that you can order. It doesn't cost much more. In most cases, your insurance is going to pay for it. But if you know what you want, there's generally a way of getting there. But the pH is a simple one, just a simple pH strip. And they're available at a lot of places online, if nowhere else.
I guess there's no such thing as a pH strip that tells you that incredible hamburger is really good for you, right?
Well, it's interesting. You can put a pH strip into orange juice and it'll come up acidic, but the body takes the citric acid and converts it into a bicarbonate. So the body actually converts that acidic food that you're giving it and makes it alkaline. That's why fruits and vegetables are so interesting in the fact that they provide an alkaline product to the body. So you have to really measure what the body is doing, not the food you're putting into it.
We have a question from Lisa Manioki. So when it comes to supplements, how do you decide which ones are viable? Good question, Lisa.
I think you have to go on the reputation of the manufacturer. In many cases, I look at what's in there, like vitamin E. It's 4 different tocopherols and 4 different tocotrienols. And you look on the back and there's only one that's synthetic. Why give me a synthetic single rather than all the mixed tocopherols and tocotrienols? It's an awareness thing of being able to read a label and see what's in there. If I'm looking at calcium and it says calcium carbonate instead of calcium citrate, I know that I have to eat a lot of food to have that carbonate really broken down so that my body gets it. It's not a simple question. I like a company called Life Extension. I've been using them to do a lot of my writings. There's lifeextension.org, is it lef.org. I really like them as a source. I buy a lot of my supplements from them. I'm sure there are other really good companies out there. If I'm buying my vitamin K2, I go to a different company because I can get vitamin K2 that's super energized with the minoquinone 4 that I really need much more than I need the minoquinone 7. So it depends on what you're really looking for to improve your life.
Excellent. Wow, I've learned so much today. It's amazing. And the one thing that I really learned is that I'm a better you because of all of you. So thank you for being here today as the first presenters on this. Thank you. You've all touched me in so many ways. You are all role models, leaders, experts. So I just can't thank you enough for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everybody. Great working with you all.
So as we close out the show, I just want to give some updates and some information. So I'll just meet all of you backstage in a couple minutes, if that's okay.
Fantastic.
Okay. So I wanted to just announce we have our program tomorrow, which is going to be A Better You, and it's from 11 to 12:30. And our guests tomorrow are Alex Kaplan, Ralph Graves Jr., Pat Roquet, Cinda Rothman, and Dear James. So it's going to be quite a show. I'm really thrilled. And the other announcement that I wanted to make is just something kind of personal. I have a banner here, but I got my first articles published today in Thrive Global. So if you can go check it out, it's on the first page when you go there, thriveglobal.com. And I want to give a big shout out to Heather Dean, because she's the one who encouraged me to start publishing some blogs. So it's really been terrific. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I also want to thank my co-host, Alcini. If you didn't get to see our business talk show, you can go to YouTube, and we would love for you to subscribe to Dr. Jacalyn LLC YouTube channel. All of our shows are there. So we have our Wednesday, The Business Talk Show. That's at 2 p.m. Then we have our show tomorrow, which is It's All About Dating. And then we have our Friday show, Stories of Hope, Inspiration, Overcoming Adversity. And finally, we have our variety show. So we hope we have something for everyone. We're also excited to announce that we're expanding to other platforms. We were actually going to be on Spotify and on Apple. So stay tuned for more information on that. Until then, we hope you'll join us tomorrow. And again, please be kind to one another. And thank you again for being here. Appreciate it. Bye.